Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for all sticking around. 2 days. The best is yet to come that we are waiting. I'm here to introduce a very special person today. You might remember on our first day we talked about TiE is a network of net givers. And when we think about net givers, there are many, many names that come to our mind from our Silicon Valley chapter. One special person who is going to start our conversation today, he exemplifies the definition of being a net giver. Shanker Trivedi, Senior Vice President at NVIDIA, who leads the enterprise business. Now, I can go on and on about his accomplishments professionally. I won't be able to do justice in the time that I've been given, but I'll just say a couple of things. First, he heads the entire enterprise business, been with NVIDIA for 17 years. Very special to me is a former CMO, so I have a very soft corner of all the CMOs. Prior to that, he had leadership roles in various organizations. Very intelligent, yet humble. He holds 4 eyes. For people from India, you might understand 2 from IIT eyes and 2 from IIM eyes. More importantly, him and obviously his family are great supporters of TiE, both professionally and personally. I can see the family here. So without any further ado, everyone please welcome none other than Shanker Trivedi from NVIDIA. Such a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, can you hear me now?
Oops. Yeah.
Right, welcome, welcome everybody. In true NVIDIA tradition, I brought along a bunch of friends.
Hi, I'm back.
Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to sit down, we're going to have a really good conversation about AI, the future of AI, what NVIDIA is doing about it, how we engage with developers and startups, and educators and researchers, and maybe give you a peek into what might be coming along. But before I do that, let me introduce my colleagues here, starting from the extreme left. We have Pradeep Gupta. Pradeep is our Vice President for all of our industry solution architects worldwide. And I've known him since he was a kid, and he's been at NVIDIA for 14 years. Okay, wow. Pradeep. Next is Susan Marshall. Susan Marshall is actually a relative newbie at NVIDIA. She's been here only for 3 years, and she is responsible for working with our developers and particularly our startup inception partners in a large part of the world, including our amazing inception team in India as well. So welcome, Susan Marshall.
Thank you.
And then next we have Rajani. Rajani has been in NVIDIA for
18 years.
Longer than me. Okay, I've been 17 years, 18 years in a wide variety of finance roles, and now she is in our investing team, NVIDIA and Ventures and Corporate Development. So that's Rajani. And finally, Prerna. Prerna is our Senior Director responsible for our med-tech products. We actually make products devoted to industries, for automotive, for robotics, for telecom, and Prerna runs our med-tech products. Okay, so let's have a good discussion and talk about, I'll sit down. Okay? I will, I promise you. But let's kick it off, Pradeep, with tell us about what's happening with AI and AI adoption, and what are you, particularly in NVIDIA, doing about it?
Yeah, thank you, Shanker. And first of all, I will say it's wonderful to be here, and thank you all for coming and listening to us. I think AI is really transforming everything what we are doing around here, right? As all of you can see that. And I will specifically focus on the transformation every enterprise right now is going through AI. If some of you might be remembering, a few years back, we were talking about perception AI, where you can see and then really perceive the things around you and then take certain decisions. But as soon as the generative AI come up, where you were just like finding, hey, this is an image of a cat or a dog, all of a sudden, now with the generative AI, you can go and generate the images or sound or like anything which you want to. And we didn't stop there. as the transformation is continuing, as you can see right now, we all talking about agentic AI, where AI is not only can think, it can reason about the things, it can plan, but it can also do the things, right? And NVIDIA is kind of in the middle of driving this entire transformation and in the middle of helping every enterprise to go through that transformation. And the way we think about it, because we as a company think of we are a accelerated AI platform computing company. It means everything which we do, we need to ensure that this platform is really enabling all of the world's industries, right? And all of this AI, which is helping everyone to really retransform their business, retransform the way they're thinking about building their products, retransforming the way they're thinking about even their go-to-market and everything else. So, for NVIDIA, the way we thinking about AI always as a full stack computing problem. And one of the fundamental things which we are driving right now is what we call as AI factory. If you remember in the older days, when we're talking about the factories, they produce something. Here, your input is your data, and the output is you really producing the intelligence, or we call them in the form of tokens, right? So these tokens are coming, which are producing the intelligence, and that's what is really driving the whole economics, if you think around. And NVIDIA's full stack computing platform, starting from the AI factory, but there's a lot more software on the top of that. Like, a lot of people really don't realize it's not just the hardware, it's the full stack computing platform, and a lot of software which goes on the top of that. And the way we do that, because at the end of the day, AI and accelerated computing is going to solve a domain-specific problems. And we do that by taking this entire platform in solving some of the world's most complex domain-specific problems where our platform has a very unique value proposition to solve that. And that kind of leads me, maybe we should go and talk about one of the very specific example which leads to industry which is very close to my heart, as well as very close to NVIDIA, and which is healthcare. So maybe, Prerna, do you want to talk about that?
Sure, yeah. No, thank you, Pradeep, and thank you, Shanker, for having me here. It's an honor to be with this amazing audience. So our mission in healthcare and life sciences at NVIDIA is really sitting at that translation of what Pradeep just shared, right? The foundation of accelerated computing, this amazing appliance that you have. How do we translate that into tools, technologies, software, reference applications for an entire ecosystem of healthcare and life sciences? So as an example, building products and technologies and developer tools in this space, our journey started with sensor processing, right? And this was, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago, where we found image reconstruction in CT and MR as an accelerated computing application. As we kept building upon that stack, like today with sensor processing, we've built this world-class medical-grade, real-time sensor processing platform called Holoscan, right? It's the first of its kind. It is the foundation of what is now what we are seeing in the market, this notion of multi-sensor fusion in what we are seeing in robotics-assisted surgery with the likes of Intuitive Surgical, a lot of startups with Moon Surgical and so on. Similarly, on the foundation of perception AI, like when the world rose to the moment of AlexNet and being able to classify cats and dogs, medical images are unique, they are volumetric. And so we went ahead and working with the innovators and the researchers founded an open source project called Monai, the Medical Open Network for AI, and very proud of that. It's crossed 5 million downloads. It's really the standard of R&D, right? Because you have this amazing platform of GPU, but how do we make sure that you get the most of it? You get the most of that silicon. You're getting the hyper-optimized performance out of it. And then continuing on that continuum, just like the rest of the world in healthcare, we had that moment with generative AI, and we saw this huge explosion with startups and agents, which are really shaping how care is delivered. You go back to your hospital, and some of these are in pilots right here in the valley. right? Where
And notice, this is just one vertical of medtech, and we have 17, 18, 19 such verticals. And notice how we are working this ecosystem, right? Developers, researchers, startups, enterprises. So tell us, Susan, what's the heart of this? Like, what are you doing with all these developers and startups?
So I think I have the best job at NVIDIA because I am a former startup founder, raised money, went through the whole process of trying to figure out how to build a company. And now I get to work with thousands of startups across healthcare, financial services, robotics, all over the world. And when Pradeep was talking about what NVIDIA does and that we're a full stack company, not just GPUs, but all of the software that enables the GPUs to be so effective, our team works hard with these startups, with developers, with researchers at universities to help them understand our full stack. All of our SDKs, our blueprints, something we call NIMs. So we're always releasing new software to help our startups, our developers, and our researchers. We now have 22,000 startups in our program. It's growing every day. It could be 2 guys in a garage that have a great idea, and we go out and we help them. Or it could be something like Mistral or Sovereign AI, which is the foundational model out of India that works with big banks and telcos to help them build custom co-pilots for customer service and to improve that overall experience in the local language. So overall, developers, startups, researchers are super important to the company, and we have quite a few people across the company that are working.
So we've had the AI factory, we've had Mon AI, you've got a kind of developer ecosystem. You mentioned Sarvam as a great language model startup. And of course, sometimes, we need to add our capital to this, right? And so how do we, what do you do, Rajani, and how do you kind of help foster this whole ecosystem?
Yeah, I want to echo what Susan said. I think I also have the best role at NVIDIA. It's been thank you, first of all, Shanker, for inviting us here and for hosting this panel. My first time at TiEcon, and super excited to be here and share what CorpDev and NVentures does at NVIDIA. NVIDIA is a very founder-friendly company. We invest mainly where there is a strong strategic thesis to invest. We are check size agnostic, stage agnostic. Between the two investing arms of NVIDIA, CorpDev and NVentures, we pretty much cover a wide gamut of startups. CorpDev focuses on investments and startups closer to the hardware layer. So think foundational model companies, AI factory companies, generative AI, agentic AI startups. NVentures focuses more on the app layer. They also focus on investments in healthcare and robotics. So between Susan's Inception program to collaborative and partnership opportunities to equity investments and acquisitions, we pretty much cover the end-to-end life cycle of startups. So.
Yeah, and one thing which I will share, if you see across all of us, as I told in the beginning, we are a platform computing company, and we all love to work with the developers. And where do you find these developers? No better than where the startups are.
Yeah, I mean, I always say when customers come, I always tell them, NVIDIA has the world's best developer program. And the next question is, are you a developer?
Yeah.
And notice how much easier nowadays it's become to write code.
Yeah.
The computer is writing the code, we just have to instruct it, right?
Yeah.
And so I think some of the things that we're doing in this whole developer ecosystem is really quite remarkable, right? A musician is a developer. A geneticist in your vertical.
Absolutely, a biologist is a developer now.
Right? And so you don't have to think of like you're a computer person in order to use this computing platform. Because now AI is adding intelligence somebody.
And that also leads to, I think, Shanker, earlier you talked about the 20 or 20 plus industries where we are solving the domain-specific problems. And AI is really at the intersection of that. And you are the developers, doesn't matter. You might be thinking about the drug discovery, or you solving some algorithmic trading problems, or you thinking about the self-checkout in the retail stores, or you thinking about how to think of the digital twin of the next generation of the factory which I'm planning. AI is kind of versatile across all, You are the developers working in all of that. And this platform is really empowering to make all of that happen.
And notice, that's why we did this developer education, right? Thank you, those of you, I think about 80 people to the, it's the first time we ran this class. It's called DLI, and the DLI is the program. And we had anyone who joined this class here at TiEcon would have made an agentic AI using LLMs. That was the exercise. And we, how many of these do we do every day, Susan?
We do hundreds of classes, and everything from introduction to deep learning to very technical courses. So it doesn't matter if you're a beginner in AI, if you already have a foundation understanding. And we keep churning out new courses.
Since there are many people in this room are kind of in the business of making, one of the most popular classes we had was options trading using AI.
Oh, wow. I bet.
Yeah, somebody just put together a class, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but there's free self-paced courses, so not all of them are, some are instructor-led, so there's just all variety.
And make a robot, for example.
Yeah. Yes, yep.
Yeah, okay. So now, notice the relentless pace of innovation. I mean, how many times have you had to change your product, Prerna?
Every week. Maybe not every week, but the point being that you have to meet, the technology pace is so high. So how do you keep that?
Pradeep, how many chips have we made in the last 1 year?
We went to the yearly cadence of producing the chips. As all of you can imagine, how hard to bring the chips to the life, because it's not just the chips, you're bringing the entire software stack with that. But that's the power of innovation. And one thing at NVIDIA is really, right, we don't, afraid of failing, right? But we want to move fast. And we want to be where the market is heading, where the technology is heading, and where the innovations are coming through.
And notice we have 400 software development kits, maybe 500, and they're being maintained every day. How many of those drop every day?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I always point out how much software we're producing every day. And every one of those Git repositories
we call them CUDA-X libraries, right? Everything which you guys think, there are like hundreds of SDKs. Doesn't matter which industry vertical you're working with, you will always find there is an SDK, there is a library. If you are I call them as like the new generation developers. If you're thinking about a container or an API, we have like all of this, think of in every industry vertical. I'm sure.
So why don't you now tell us, okay, this is where we are. We are now in this area of agentic AI where it's being generated. What do you think is going to happen next?
Yeah. So, as you remember, I was talking about from perception AI to, generative AI to agentic AI. I think one thing which, I'm personally super excited, and the way I see, what is the world's oldest industry? It's all about the industrial revolution, right, which entire mankind has gone through. Just imagine this entire AI which we're talking about, it takes the physical form, right? And we call that as a physical AI. There are more than 10 million, companies, industries, like industrial companies who are producing of factories. There are 1.5 billion trucks and the cars running on the road. There are 200,000 or more warehouses today. Now imagine each and every one becomes autonomous, right? And that's where I'm talking about. AI is taking the physical form. And the way this technology has progressed, I'm pretty sure, maybe if you have asked me this question 5 years back, I would have thought about whether I will be able to see it in my lifetime. But now I'm very confident we all will see this in our lifetimes. And that's where the AI is really heading, taking from agentic to really becoming a physical form, right? But, if you think of the impact of this will be visible across many industries, right? And maybe I would love to hear from some of my panelists here, right? What they think about, maybe Prerna, you want to talk something in healthcare? How do you think it's going?
No, yeah, again, building upon that, physical AI is here for healthcare too, and it's going to change. It's just going to change the way care is delivered, but also think about for diseases that you had no access, what it can do when you can have these agencies and physical AI for exoskeletons. And in healthcare, it's not just about automation. And of course, there's this huge opportunity with operational excellence and in these hospitals where you can imagine the hospital itself will become embodied AI, right? But in some of these very niche understanding of diseases like Alzheimer's and the breakthroughs we are seeing in brain-computer interface. But just one quick point on the other area where we are seeing an explosion is this understanding of biology. And biology has turned into a data science. And so what happened with AlphaFold, being able to predict these structures of 400 million proteins known to mankind, it would have taken 1 billion years for PhDs. So I'm very excited about drug discovery and how AI is going to completely change that. And I am in the camp of this abundance of AI age.
So not just the chemistry, but also the exoskeleton.
The exoskeletons,
right?
yeah.
And this also really opens up a very big, the transformation in our economy. The physical AI space I was talking about, if you see, that's roughly today's 50 trillion of the industry we're talking about. Just imagine everything is being transformed with this force of AI, how the economy will move, and that's really powerful to imagine. And the most interesting part is we all are going to experience in our lifetime here.
Yeah, and with so much excitement going across so many different sectors, you can imagine.
What's a really good investment you made?
Yeah, so I can talk about a few themes that we have been following. So overall, global AI venture investing surpassed 100 billion in 2024, nearly doubling from 2023 levels. While the overall VC funding, broad-based VC funding saw a decline. Some of the areas that NVIDIA has invested are foundational AI startups, and also fine-tuning them, making them domain-specific, like Prerna and Pradeep have talked about. We're also investing in neoclouds, a space previously served by 4 large cloud providers. We're seeing companies like CoreWeave and Crusoe and Lambda come in and play there. Probably all of you know GPUs are very power hungry. So there is a lot of interesting startups coming up that are reducing the energy bottleneck. So companies that have a very innovative approach to finding sustainable energy solutions and green alternatives, like wind, harnessing wind, solar, geothermal, carbon capture, and so on. Crusoe is a company, NVIDIA portfolio company, that fits very well in several of these categories. So they are a neocloud that is, has a very energy-first approach to setting up their AI, setting up their infrastructure. They're also building an AI factory for Oracle and OpenAI as part of Stargate project. So you can imagine there's no dull moment in AI investing at this.
And are you seeing anything like exciting in the startup space that's
every
futuristic?
day we see something new. And I also work in emerging markets and the Middle East and Africa. And you start to see, with little resources, a lot of innovation with what they have available to them. So, but a lot in green energy, a lot in using solar. It's just across all industries, we're seeing all kinds of.
I've been involved with a company called Utilitator for about 5 to 7 years.
Yes.
Thank you for investing in them. And it's a great example because this is a group of people who spun out of the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, right? Which is one of the NVIDIA's customers, by the way. And they spun out, they joined forces with a group of public policy people out of Brown and Rhode Island and created this company that then is funded by the Department of Energy. And now their technology is entering every single smart meter. And the soundbite I use is, the old smart meters, the only smart thing they did was remove the meter reader, basically. Now this new AI-enabled smart meter, you can go bi-directional with all the renewable energy, you can change its software personality in real time. This is a kind of much more close to a real smart meter. And notice the smart meter is part of what we call the 3-computer problem. In other words, think about any robot, right? A robot has to be trained, right? Trained in the data center. The robot then has to be simulated and functional tested with synthetic and real data. That's called the simulation and testing computer, also in the data center. Now you create the personality, goes into the robot, right? With all the physical AI attributes that Pradeep just described and you talked about. So I think that's an area which is kind of really emerging to be in the future. Right?
Yeah, agree.
Now let's change gears a little bit because we have 2 minutes left, and we got this relentless pace of innovation, okay? Which means, and of course we work at the speed of light, right? NVIDIA, we work at the speed of light. So how do you balance this pace of innovation, Prerna, and yet have a life of your own and family and stuff like that?
I mean, I love NVIDIA, and I do think it's not for everybody, but like NVIDIA is such a mission-driven company, and I'm sure we'll all say this, like mission's the boss. So you come to a job with a purpose, you are accountable, you're a responsible adult, working with the same sort of commitment from colleagues. I mean, and I recently, like we have a family, and I have 2 kids. I was on maternity last year. What I love about NVIDIA is that fabric of intellectual honesty and transparency and the pace and innovation. So I can come back and say, I have different priorities at work, but mission's the boss, so I cannot be on mission-critical business, period, right? There's no question about that. But I can come back and say, you know what, I got this. And what I love about NVIDIA is like, I never had to come back and think like, I have to prove myself again, and I need to lean in a little bit more to say that I'm here. So it's an amazing place.
Yeah. And I want to highlight another aspect of NVIDIA. I mean, NVIDIA has been a dream employer for me. NVIDIA has a very employee-first approach and mentality. I have benefited from so much mentorship. There is a strong network of women leaders who are supporting each other, helping pave the path for the next generation of women leaders and men leaders too. So, what this has encouraged me to do is it has encouraged me to pay it forward. And now I see myself mentoring the next wave of women leaders.
Exactly.
So that's something, and I know there are so many wonderful things I could say about NVIDIA, but I'll just mention one more differentiation. NVIDIA's approach has been so unique in the sense that NVIDIA and employees, the mentality NVIDIA has encouraged is through ups and downs and through thick and thin, employees and NVIDIA get through it together. So be it the global financial crisis or the COVID pandemic, we've kind of weathered it together. And it encourages an environment of trust and loyalty. And similarly, when NVIDIA goes through ups and downs, the employees stand by NVIDIA as well, exactly. Right? So that network fabric is so strong, and you'll find a lot of loyal employees at NVIDIA. It's encouraged that a lot, and not uncommon to see employees who've worked here for 5, 10, 20 years. Shanker and Pradeep are good examples.
So one thing which I really wanted to add here, because you talked about leadership, and myself as an example, joined NVIDIA in like, Shanker talked to me, I joined as a kid. So I really joined as a kid, like very early in my career. But one thing which I really learned about leadership in this company, like watching all the leaders, specifically, our CEO, I think leadership, he always talks about, it's not by command and control. Leadership is by the influence. You create the right conditions for the people to be successful, and that's what drives them, and that's what really drives the overall mission. If you are able to do that, rest all will be taken care. And that's what I learned, and I truly believe. And if you really want to take away one thing about leadership, please remember that it's not by command and control, it's by the influence.
Okay, on that wonderful note, and I think we're out of time, I hope that we shared with you what's happening now at this point of time with AI, especially with agentic and generative, and what's happening in the future with physical and robotic AI. We shared with you what we're doing with developers, with startups, with investing, and hopefully we've given you a flavor for the way we work at NVIDIA. When I did this panel with Jensen at the IIT conference last year, he said, let's take 4 IITians to the conference and talk about the way we work. And it went down really well. I hope that you enjoyed our session today. We didn't talk about quantum, but the next panel is about quantum, and I hope you'll enjoy that too. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.